My name is Tom Kelly, and here on the Tom Kelly Show, I am one comedian making life better. New episodes on Mondays and Wednesdays here on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hit subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Hit that plus sign on Apple Podcasts to make sure I show up whenever there's a new episode. And rate, show love where love can be shown, and let's start the show.
Here we go. All right, trigger warning, spoiler alert, put on your bike helmets, people. You are experiencing a very, very random, but potentially very, very awesome Tom Kelly show. I'm here with Ryan Sher, who is an amazing guy. I know this because I've met him for all of 7 minutes. I met him downstairs. He has really, we'll talk about what he's doing in a second. I'll tell you about my day. But I got Ryan Sher, Subrosa Brand, BMX, and I'm just having one of those days in New York City where go to the gym. All I did was stretch because my hip is bothering me, my calf is bothering me. And I walk back and I meet Ryan, who is friends with my neighbor Ryan, but no relation. And Brian was just sharing this amazing friggin' life he has. Tell everybody what you do. And you could talk to me. The camera's there as like our third friend. For sure. But you are a coach? Is that the right way to put it? Or?
Brand manager, TM. I mean, coach falls under there. Life advice to the team guys.
So,
but yeah,
we got to explain it. So you're from Subrosa Brand.
Yes.
It's not just a BMX shop.
Correct.
It's you're living in a, right now for the last week, you have been living in a 1-bedroom apartment. That with what, 6 bikers?
Yes.
By the way,
with bikes.
With bikes. You've been surprisingly polite and quiet. I did not know you guys were in there.
That's always a goal.
And you're what, here for a tournament of some sort?
Right.
And these kids are not just guys you coach, but they're guys from around the world.
Yep.
Why? What? How? Why are you in New York City? It's 900 degrees out. That sort of stuff.
Great. The weather's been excellent this week. It's definitely a little hot in the sun, all that stuff, but you sit in the shade for a minute and regroup. It's perfect. But so what we do is we run a BMX bike company, and these guys are part of our team. We have a pretty big team. This is just 4 of them. And we produce videos in different cities, different situations, and it's, you know, marketing for our brand and for the team guiders. They get to put out their best tricks, and we show them to all the rest of the BMX riders and stuff. So this weekend, huge event called Dawn of the Streets. It's put on by some locals from Brooklyn, and it attracts riders from everywhere across the world, to be honest. And so we're ending our trip with that. We've been here for a week, basically, filming the video, and then we'll attend the event. Okay.
Now, this podcast, if we're going to own who we are and how we can bring different people together, I know for sure half of my listening audience are women over 40.
All right.
Okay? If
so
not over 50.
Need some explanation.
Well, explanation, and then we'll find inspiration through the differences.
Sure.
Did you always want to work in BMX growing up?
As soon as I pedaled my BMX bike without training wheels,
you knew this was for you.
One track mind.
So arguably, you're living a dream of some sort.
100%.
Okay.
When that dream becomes job and work, and you learn to deal with it, but overall, it was my dream.
Okay. Now, you're managing a brand, blah, blah, blah. Are you also coaching guys? Are you coaching these guys, or are you just managing them all, being here, working for your brand?
I try to, because one thing I like to do with the brand is we sponsor all ages, all shapes, all sizes, everybody. So some of these guys are new. So I like to take my experiences and show, you know, help explain them what brands are looking for when they sponsor people, and how to manage yourself on a road trip. There's 6 people staying in one room. Okay. No privacy, no space, no breathing room. Like,
yeah, I saw that Ryan bought and I only know this because I carried a packages from upstairs.
Appreciate it.
But Ryan bought you guys like 4 or 5 aero beds.
Yeah, I sent them up from Amazon before we.
Oh, so you bought them for yourself?
Yeah, I know. And I knew what was coming, so I didn't want the guys on the floor, so I sent up the air mattresses.
Okay, now you're 30 something.
42. I appreciate it.
God bless you. I'm 46. There has to be. You're living in one room with 6 20-something-year-old heterosexual men.
Yep. Well, we do have Benny. Benny is our newest rider. Benny is non-binary.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing because this is his first trip with the team. That's how new he is on the team.
Right.
And so we're all learning.
Actually, now this sounds crazy because I have 2 or 3 different sets of stereotypes about guys and girls who BMX.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would be that open an environment.
Yeah.
Is it that open and accepting?
Thankfully, BMX is very open and accepted. There's always the wild cards, and you just don't deal with those people. But overall, BMX, I feel, is very inviting, welcoming.
It is.
Yeah, there's lots of girls that do it. Now contests have girls' events, specifically from the guys' events and things like that. So it's very cool.
You were telling me that BMX actually is the one business that improved during COVID.
Yeah. I mean, it was an outdoor activity. Kids were at home, things like that. We make kids' bikes. We make all that stuff. We even make an actual little spot that you could put together and ride it in your driveway. So all those things just really matched up with stay at home.
Now, you moved from California to Florida. I wouldn't think Florida would have, because of the heat, a thriving BMX community.
Well, we just met, so I'll fill you in a little bit on the history. When I moved to Florida, I was in Portland at the time.
Which one?
Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon. I moved around a lot as a kid, and which was also cool for BMX because I got to meet BMXers from everywhere, and I think that helped me learn about BMX more. But yeah, Florida isn't necessarily the best place for BMX, but it's great for BMX.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got all winter, spring, and fall with incredible winter weather.
Okay.
Summertime, you just ride at night.
Now, I would think it's funny because I know a lot of entertainers I know started in BMX.
Really?
I mean, obviously Johnny Knoxville is the
huge,
most.
Yeah.
I knew a guy, George Gallo, who you can still find on TikTok and stuff. And I always say this guy, George Gallo, he was probably Johnny Knoxville before Johnny Knoxville.
Wow.
The thing is, he couldn't figure out how to get his VHS tape off VHS.
Right.
And he and I will argue over this. Like, he could have been a YouTube. He has so much talent. And if he's listening, I hope he's hearing this in the right way. The guy is so talented and so funny and physically willing to take risks.
Yeah.
And are all BMXers, do they all have an entertainer's soul? Like, you're very affable. You're easy to talk to. I mean, that's the other thing this sort of says. We were just talking on the stoop, and I just invited Ryan up to the apartment, which either says, 1, you're that agreeable, or 2, all my is going to be missing by this time tomorrow.
Well, there are 6 of us. So. No, just kidding. I mean, what? We're on minute 7 or something?
Yeah.
This is probably minute 27 that we've known each other. Like,
it is,
amazing. Yeah. And that's that to me
now,
is
are all
New York
BMXers
City.
that easygoing? Like,
A lot are.
like the stereotype of a BMXer is that, for me, might be that it's a masculine, but yet easygoing sort of thing where everybody's stoned and doing bike tricks. But I bet it's more complex than that.
It is more complex, but that's where everybody agrees upon, and that's what I think. Those are the foundations.
So I'm not wrong.
No, it is. I mean, yeah, you're taking slams, you're doing all this stuff. You're just pedaling a 25-pound bike around the city for miles and miles just to find that one spot to do the trick you want to do on.
So my podcast is about making life better and people improving themselves. And I've had 100 different slogans, but at the end of the day, I'm on a journey trying to make my life better. And I think you just hit one thing right there. If there were things that I think our listeners and I could learn from all BMXers, one you just hit right there is we all take slams. What are the things regular people could learn from BMXers? And I think we could start with that, taking an injury and getting up again. Is that?
Yeah. Kind of dust yourself off, do the system check, and you'll survive for the most part.
Like, what's your craziest injury?
Well, the last time I was on a trip, we were in Spain, and I'm with the team guys. I'm 42, like I said. I've done my time on the bike, but I'm addicted. I'm gonna ride my bike no matter what. And I found a spot that I wanted to hit, so I left the spot in an ambulance. my team riders came with me to take care of me because I was the one.
And yet you're riding still.
And I'm back on this trip, and I filmed a couple clips here. Like, I'm...
Okay, Ryan, this is an easy one. So you fall off the bike, you wind up in an ambulance. What gets you back on the bike? Is it a love of biking or insanity?
Great question. It's the love of biking, but I couldn't teach somebody what that is that gets me. I
Yeah.
wish I knew
No.
what the thing was, because if I could teach people what the one thing was, everybody would do it. But again, it's the whole community of BMX. Like I said with Benny, it's opening. It's it's very similar to skateboarding. It's typically the outcast. It's typically the friends. The BMXers are going to high school, and they may or may not have the friends at high school, but they unlock their bike from the bike rack and go meet up with all their friends. You know what I mean? Like BMX is a community, which is great.
So it's funny now. What you're just saying is how I feel about Star Trek, but like, which is something you probably keep a little more on the inside. But is that how you found yourself through BMX? Like I felt like I was an outsider in high school, and it probably wasn't until I went to summer camp that I realized what nerd language was.
Sure.
You know,
you find your people in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's going to find their people and gravitate towards certain people and stuff. I mean, I would be riding my bike to school and see something in high school, see something to ride, and I'd crash, and I'd go to school with cuts on my arms, and I'm all dirty, and everybody's wearing their fresh school clothes. And I'm just like thinking like, man, I can't wait to hit that spot again on my way home.
Now, there's another stereotype that BMX guys get all the girls. Is that true, or is that not true?
I am married, so I got the girl at the end of the whole thing, so I would agree, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, you know, the guys do all right for themselves.
Now, are you technically a chaperone, or are these guys all adults on this trip?
They're all adults, but I tell the guys too, hey, when we're on a road trip, not only are you representing yourself, you are representing the brands and stuff. So at my buddy's apartment, it's not a hotel room. We're treating that place with respect.
Actually, who was the guy I met from Long Island? I was very impressed with
Lewis.
him.
Yeah,
Lewis. So I honestly, I am, and I bet you Ryan will say this, I'm the curmudgeon-y neighbor. I really don't want to know anybody unless I have to. It took me 8 years to make friends with Ryan. And he had to move from another apartment into the one next door for me to really make an effort, and vice versa. That said, I met your buddy Lewis, and he actually was so friggin' polite, and I'm like, really? You're here for BMX? You know, whatever. And then it's just funny. I saw all 6 of them on the street. I'm like, they're in a gang. But they were like a very polite gang. Like, like I felt like a made man. Is BMX an a-hole-free environment, or is it just the guys you have with you?
Oh, no, it's everywhere, for sure. And, I mean, we've had those guys on our team. They just don't last as long as the non-a-holes.
Okay, now, Subrosa Brand.
Yes.
It's a brand. You have bikes.
Everything.
Okay. What do I have to do to get sponsored by Subrosa Brand?
Great question. Because every brand kind of sees it different, and there's no kind of association. There's no league. There's no real definition of you hit this point, you are pro.
Right.
But a brand can kind of deem you pro for what.
So, like, could I mean, like, and this is what drives me nuts about comedy. Could I become a pro BMXer without having ridden a BMX ever if you just choose to sponsor me? Like,
I don't believe so because of the slams and the hours it takes to really just become one with the BMX bike. Like, the stuff these guys are doing is some of the biggest drops, and they're just making it look like nothing. And you got to be willing to crash and get back up and do it, because you are 100% going to crash. Like, these guys come on this trip expecting to film a video. They know they're going to slam a few times on a trip, but it's just in them to the reward of that video clip and being able to show their friends and peers, and this is my little mark on history of BMX, that makes it all worth it to everybody. So even comedy, right? Like, comedy's got way highs and way lows, and famous comedians can be on all different kinds of spectrums. So even pro BMXers, maybe they're just a YouTube guy.
Well, and now there you go. You're hitting sort of where I'm trying to find a similarity between our businesses, which is I've heard this expression. It's not mine. There's no union card that says you're a comedian. You just wake up and say I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
Is it the same in your world?
Yeah.
But I bet then, same in comedy, there's a lot of guys that say, hey, that you're not a comedian until you do this, until you do this.
Sure.
But in reality, you can skip a lot of these steps and start making money.
Sure. Some people skip the steps. Some people do all the right steps, and it just doesn't happen because there are only a handful of brands to choose from. There's not infinity bike sponsors, so there's more riders than there are sponsors. So there's a lot of guys grinding it out every day that are excellent riders, excellent people, and they don't get sponsored.
Okay. Can you, in your business, be a pro before you're actually making money? What is it like in your mind? Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, were you pro before you were making money off this in your mind?
No, because the money is if there is any sort of separation, kind of the money, if you're getting paid by someone, essentially, like that, that deems you pro as well. But yeah, there's some guys that are getting paid as amateurs for some brands, and then there's guys that are getting paid as pro, and yeah, it's so variable.
So this is probably
and when I say pay, that pay might not be a living.
Yeah, well,
Still.
no, but that's comedy. You know, like, listen, it's comedy, that's acting. You know, like in my mind, there are moments where I feel like I'm not a real comedian because I've made all this money not going down the traditional artist path. But the traditional artist comedian path, you're dying poor alone in a hotel room, you know, unless you get a Netflix special or something like that. And I'd even argue the famous comedians you and I both know are people who made their fame for doing something outside of typical comedy.
Right. And that maybe drew more people in.
Yeah, like I can drop the word Johnny Knoxville in a complete sentence, but I don't know him because I'm well read on the BMX scene.
Right.
You know, is a guy like Johnny Knoxville respected? You know, or is he considered that, oh, you skipped this step, this step, this step?
Oh, I think he's respected. But I wouldn't necessarily consider him a BMXer either.
Okay, yeah.
He rode BMX and things like that. It was more of a hobby, and he had some famous videos when he was trying to break through. And there was one famously where he's shooting himself with the he's wearing a bulletproof vest and all that. Before Johnny Knoxville, he maces himself.
Yeah.
All in this, but he's wearing a Hoffman bike shirt, so he's still showing love to BMX because he likes it and stuff. But he wasn't. You wouldn't see him at an event or anything like that.
All right. So I feel like by the end of this podcast, we're going to have a lot of people who are old ladies, old men, people who have never touched a BMX bike.
Yeah.
And then maybe some entry-level people who find this show through the algorithm.
Sure.
What can we learn from the BMX community, even if we're never going to pick up a BMX? Like, I'm a mountain biker. Is there anything?
A huge thing that I love about BMX is what just took place on this stoop. You met all the guys on the team.
Yeah.
We met. We knew Ryan. The bulk of BMX is an inviting community. You know? And if you see a group of BMXers riding at a spot, take a minute and actually watch what they're doing. To the general public, it looks like we're destroying a ledge. And no one will ever be able to sit on it, and why are you doing that? And I'm calling the police right now, and that's what they see. But they don't see that this guy traveled from France because that bench is famous. Other people have done tricks on that bench that make that bench famous, and my rider has come all the way from France to leave his mark on that bench. And I agree, we are technically destroying that spot, but in a strange way, we're making art at that spot, we're documenting that spot, we're paying tribute to that spot. We came to New York City to see your city and to view your city, and hopefully our videos show our experience when we go to all these different cities, and it opens your eyes. BMXers get to see what Madrid, Spain looks like because we put out a video from Spain. We went to Warsaw, Poland and did a whole video there.
Yeah, and
Colombia,
I mean, I just looked at your YouTube, 60,000 followers you guys got.
Yeah, working on it.
Yeah.
You know, that's new to us too. As the marketing changes and the world changes, we're doing our best because we used to release DVDs.
Okay.
We got a new DVD the other day, and none of our laptops have a DVD player. We can't even watch it.
So not to drag out the interview, but I have a friend who he is another guy who could have been rich if he was willing to go on the internet, but he was afraid of getting arrested. He used to he used to rent cars, beat the hell out of them, and then return them.
Right.
And I mean,
the insurance.
Borderline crashed them, got the insurance. I mean, I'm sure on many levels it was fraud. And if it wasn't fraud, it was him driving 140 miles an hour.
Sure.
Definitely a crime. In your mind, since I think, we're about the same age, you're old school, you just talked about DVDs, has technology made the community better for you as an old school guy, or do you miss the old days?
Ooh, controversial statement, because the old guys miss the old days. The new guys wouldn't think about not posting that clip on Instagram instantly, or just the simple process of waiting a month for the magazine to come out so you can find out what just happened last month. Now you're following your favorite rider. You saw what he had for breakfast. You saw him put his bike in his truck. You saw him drive to the spot. Then you saw him do the trick. And then you saw him at home watching Netflix.
Okay.
Like, it's to me, I was a little slow to the process, but to me it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, this technology is awesome. Let's embrace it. If I could have been following my favorite riders online all day, I would have been doing the same. So I can't hate on it. I am old school.
Well, I think you also, guys our age, have one foot in each generation.
Sure. I went from no phone, no cell phone when I was starting out going on trips to iPhone. I can do whatever I want on it.
His wife now has a tracker on him. Do you find the art with the technology, is it more or less subversive?
Ooh, that's where...
That's where the argument is?
That's where my argument is. I miss the submersive fact. I miss the physical of it, the flipping the pages of the magazine. But at the end of the day, you can flip the pictures of the phone. It is different. It's just a new version of it. But I think fully submerging yourself in it is even difficult, because how many things can you submerge yourself in?
Yeah.
You're seeing 16,000 things a day now. So to submerge yourself in something.
Well, what I love about this and having you on the podcast is I am now suddenly going to go from getting all like YouTube recommendations for Star Trek videos, West Wing reruns, to suddenly now I'm going to be in BMX.
We messed up your algorithm, but it'll be worth it. Just YouTube BMX. So some of the top videos will come up, and you'll be blown away by what these guys are doing on bikes.
So listen, folks, thank Ryan here, Ryan Sher, from a new sponsor of the Tom Kelly Show, Subrosa Brand. And Subrosa Brand on YouTube is an easy one to plug.
Instagram, Twitter.
And that's SUBROSA Brand.
Yep. And website, subrosabrand.com, and that you can get more of the story about the team guys, all of our products, videos, all that stuff. So.
All right, and there you go, guys. This is the magic of the Tom Kelly Show. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to come into your apartment. Ryan didn't know if he was going to get murdered, and I'm still not 100% sure my stuff isn't going to get stolen. So until next time, friends, thank you for taking the adventure and taking the trip up the stairs, man.
Amazing to meet you.
All right.
And, if there's another podcast following this, it means we didn't take anything.
Good night, New York.